Alright, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. And this time, I got something quite a bit different for you. I got a whole bunch of world news stuff for you. But before we get right into the main article of the day, let's check out the sponsors for this video. The beautiful, brave people down at... Oh, let's just roll it.
I love refrigerators.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure do. Keeping the channel going. Love you guys down there. But let's get right into it. So Iranian police fired live rounds to disperse protesters, say witnesses. But why are they protesting? Well, back in December, Iranians were protesting over fuel hikes in the country, and it was pretty brutal to say the least. Then came the trouble with the United States and Iran, as usual. The United States had basically assassinated the top general Soleimani of Iran while he was in Iraq. And, well, Iran didn't like that very much. So they sent a bunch of missiles over to Iraq at an airbase, and fortunately, they didn't hit anybody. Nobody was injured in that. Now, previously, a Ukrainian plane was shot down by an Iranian missile as it was taking off from Iran. And this was filled with Ukrainian and Canadian citizens, and we have a video of that in case you guys haven't seen that. After that happened, Iran said, "No, we didn't shoot it down. That's physically impossible." Physically impossible. So you mean physically impossible for missiles that were physically, scientifically designed. So they said that it was scientifically impossible, that they could shoot it down. So you mean that these missiles that are scientifically designed to shoot down an airplane couldn't shoot down an airplane? Nobody really believed that. A couple days later, they admitted, yep, it was us, and we unintentionally shot it down. And the rest of the world, very angry. Ukrainian government seeking reparations for that. Canadians seeking reparations for that. And the Iranian people did not like that very much, to say the least. So real quick, let's take a look at the video of what had happened. So the plane is actually in the air. You can't see it. This little white dot here is heading towards the plane. It explodes in the air, and then you can see the flaming wreckage continuing in the travel direction of which the plane was going. Afterwards, they swept up the field of debris, bulldozed it, and then a couple days later admitted and are going to allow special investigators into the country. Unfortunately, that's after they bulldozed the area, so most of the evidence is gone, even though they admitted it was shot down. Which is kind of interesting, as the transponder of a civilian aircraft it puts out a signal to any kind of anti-aircraft missile defense system saying, look, we're not a fighter aircraft. This is just a civilian airliner. Don't shoot us. It was also not accelerating or going up in altitude very quickly like a fighter jet or a bomber would. So why it was shot down is probably pure negligence and poor training on the Iranian part of whoever was operating this missile defense system. But Iranian authorities fired live ammunition to disperse protesters in Tehran on Sunday night, wounding several people, according to witness accounts provided to The Guardian and footage circulating on social media. Hundreds of protesters had defied a heavy security presence in the Iranian capital to hold vigils and demonstrations after the government belatedly admitted its own forces had shot down a Ukrainian International Airlines passenger jet last Wednesday, killing all 176 people on board. There were fresh protesters on Monday in at least 2 universities in the country. Though campus protests are not unusual in Iran, they come during a period of extraordinary tumult in the Islamic Republic, with an economy suffocated by U.S. sanctions, the largest protests in the regime's history, crushed by violent force in November of the fuel crisis, and popular revulsion that the country's armed forces shot down a jet loaded with Iranian citizens, then denied doing so. So there was some Iranian citizens on there. Actually, one couple were just married in Iran and then flying home. There was a lot of Canadian and Ukrainian citizens on there as well, blatantly shot down by an anti-aircraft missile defense system, which should, if anyone was well trained at all, would realize that it was just a passenger jet and it was only 4,000 or 5,000 feet in the air. So that means it probably took off minutes before that from an airport in the city. Analysts said the renewed protests were still concentrated among the restive middle classes and students and not an existential threat to the government. But the backlash had wiped out any momentum the government had hoped to gain from the outpouring and grief and rage that followed from the killing of General Soleimani, who just days before that was the largest funeral and gathering since like 1979 or something like that. It was thought that they would have gotten a break, but they have ruined it for themselves. A witness told The Guardian that groups, many led by women, gathered in Tehran's central Azadi Square on Sunday evening wearing masks and scarves to hide their identities. Well, I would too. One of the officers with a white beard was filming regular people and smiling flagrantly while we were shouting in their faces. 30 minutes later, the shooting of tear gas started and the crowd was shouting in between cries and coughs for so many years of crime. Down with this Wilayat, Iran's theocratic system of government. She said the crowd rushed away from the tear gas but continued chanting, and security forces, started to fire compact and hard black bullets, a form of non-lethal ammunition. People were on the ground. One of the tear gas canisters was fired near us. My friend was shot by paintball bullets in the head. For a few seconds, I thought he had lost his eye, but the bullet had hit his eyebrows. Blood was dripping from his eyebrows. His face was wet and was constantly coughing. The crowd dispersed after security forces began shooting bullets that were aimed at heads. Crackdown was too intense, so our comrades dispersed. Now, nobody could really provide any actual evidence if somebody was shot. She provided a video near Azadi Square showing bloodstains along the pavement, one of several similar videos being circulated by Iranian activists on Sunday evening and Monday morning. It's the blood of our people, a woman said in the clip. So they shot her with a bullet, somebody says. The problem is there really isn't any evidence or videos of them actually firing. I tried to find that before this. So all these non-lethal ammunition and paintballs can indeed provide bloody wounds, as well as the tear gas containers themselves if they strike you. So no true evidence that they were hit. However, many were hit by lots of non-lethal ammunition regardless. So moving on from all of that, we got some less serious news. A Japanese billionaire is looking for a life partner to fly with him to the moon. And so all you ladies out there, get in contact with this guy. It sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie, but Japanese billionaire Yasuki Maezawa is serious about his search for a special someone to join him on a space voyage to the moon. Just line up, ladies. Having recently split up with his girlfriend, fashion mogul Maezawa has launched an online appeal for a female life partner to accompany him on SpaceX maiden tourist voyage, a slingshot trip around the moon tentatively scheduled for 2023. So the line is going to be really long, but trust me, you got a chance because there's still 3 years till the moon slingshot, okay? So settle down, ladies. As feelings of loneliness and emptiness slowly begin to surge upon me, there's one thing that I think about: continuing to love one woman, 44-year-old Maezawa wrote Thursday in an online appeal. I want to find a life partner with the future partner of mine. I wanted to shout out our love and world peace from outer space. Maezawa, who founded Japan's popular online shopping site ZozoTown, is worth an estimated $2 billion, a rare eccentric figure among Japan's usually conservative entrepreneurs. It made global headlines in 2018 when Elon Musk's SpaceX revealed that he had chartered a flight aboard the company's big Falcon rocket. So come on, ladies, get on it. Right? Start writing some emails. Start sending him some flowers or something. Like whatever this guy likes. Start to get on this, and you can go around the moon. Because if you don't, I might just have to buddy up with him and take that ride to the moon in place of you. Because that sounds like a good time. So this is just a picture of the Australian fires that have been going on. In case you have been living under a rock, Australia, at least Southeast Australia, is completely on fire. really bad. And this is actually pretty grim. There are plenty of places where you can donate. If you just type in "donate to Australia fires," I really urge that. They're in a lot of trouble. A lot of Americans have actually come over from other countries. Firefighters have come over to help with Australia's fires. Australia's fires have killed or imperiled 1 billion animals. The biggest fires I think I've ever seen, that Australia's ever seen. It's something biblical in its proportion. More than 1 billion birds, reptiles, and mammals have been killed by the fire sweeping across Australia. Chris Dickman, University of Sydney professor from the science faculty, had to revise his initial estimate of the number of animals killed or imperiled on the enormous continent because of the fire's ferocious spread. I think there's nothing quite to compare with the devastation that's going on over such a large area so quickly. It's a monstrous event in terms of geography and the number of individual animals affected. The fires, which have raged Australia for months, have spread quickly and overwhelmed efforts to contain them. 2 massive bushfires in southeastern Australia recently merged into one gigantic megafire. They had to make up a whole word for it, measuring nearly 1.5 million acres. In total, over 130 bushfires have claimed the lives of 26 people and destroyed 3,000 homes. So fortunately, not that many lives lost, but unfortunately some lives lost regardless. And only 3,000 homes seems like a lot, but after 1.5 million acres, the bigger loss is the wildlife. The professor, who has 30 years of experience working on the ecology, conservation, and management of Australian mammals, explained in the statement, "We know that Australian biodiversity has been going down over the last several decades, and it's probably fairly well known that Australia's got the world's highest rate of extinction for mammals. It's events like this that may well hasten the extinction process for a range of other species, so it's a very sad time. What we're seeing are the effects of climate change, although, I don't know if we need to go there or not. Sometimes it's said that Australia is the canary of the coal mine, with the effects of climate change being seen here most severely and earliest. We're probably looking at the climate change that may look like for other parts of the world. So there was some things going around that all these bushfires were arson. Others saying that it's climate change. So no one really knows why these fires were so bad this year. Perhaps it was just an extra dry year. Perhaps the way the weather worked and how it was pushing out the air, the water, etc. from the skies. Maybe. But either way, an absolutely disastrous event. I urge you guys to look up more on that. However, over 4,000 pounds of veggies dropped to the starving animals in Australian bushfires. You can see they're loading up with sweet potatoes and carrots and dumping them en masse over the wildlife areas. The New South Wales government used helicopters and airplanes to feed starving animals as bushfires continue to devastate Australia. The government reportedly dropped 4,850 pounds of sweet potatoes and carrots to feed large groups of brush-tailed rock wallabies stranded by the fire. And you can see just dumping them out over the wilderness, and there they go, having a good time. Just coming across, that must be pretty awesome, though, to be totally honest. Coming across just some fresh orange carrots, you know what I mean? He's having a good time, at least, but providing some help from that. Also, smoke from Australia fires reaches South America. Smoke from the bushfires in Australia is so large that it's traveled some 11,000 kilometers or 6,800 miles to South America last week. The highest levels of carbon monoxide in the world were measured over the clean South Pacific Ocean. I like how they put that in quotations. Smoke from raging bushfires in Australia has drifted across the Pacific and reached South America. Skies over central Chile have become gray, and the WMO cited reports from local meteorological bodies of a red sunset in Argentina's capital. The fires have led to hazardous air quality in major cities throughout Australia, impacted New Zealand, and sent smoke drifting thousands of kilometers across the Pacific to South America. You can even see that this is actually Australian smoke all the way over on the east coast of South America with Buenos Aires, Argentina, etc. So it's actually drifted over the Andes Mountains and onto the other side. So that is some extreme bushfire. That's how big it is, that it is literally drifted all the way across an ocean and is affecting South America. So since October, bushfires in Australia have released 400 megatons of carbon dioxide, the EU's monitoring program said on Monday. The Copernicus program recorded the highest concentrations of atmospheric carbon monoxide in the world over the clean South Pacific Ocean, stemming from the fires in Australia. The fires have killed 25 people, at least in this article, 26 in the last, burned around 110,000 square kilometers of land, and caused the death of millions, if not upwards of 1 billion animals. So a terrible event, and I urge you guys to, donate, help out any way you can. But that's all I have for you guys today. Just sort of a little trial of world news. I didn't have a lot to gather, and I'm still sort of getting my sea legs in the world news industry. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and as usual, I'll see you guys next time.